Welcome to the Postpartum Performance Podcast. If you're here to be empowered and encouraged, you're in the right place. I believe every woman deserves to learn who's in her corner, which is why this podcast was created, to share encouragement and intentional conversations around women's health, nutrition, and wellness for new mothers. In each episode, we will discuss ways for women to find truth for her health, to feel strong, and to be confident from the inside out. I'm your host, Dr. Lynnae Pachkowski, a performance physical therapist with a passion for teaching others about pelvic health and guiding mothers to build movement, confidence, and strength. I'm a lover of running and weightlifting and a healthy cooking enthusiast. All right, ladies, grab your coffee and settle in for an episode of the Postpartum Performance Podcast. Are you with me? Here we go. Hey ladies, welcome back to the Postpartum Performance Podcast. Lindsay here, and I am so excited for this episode. We have Janelle Lynnae on the show, and she is a light and just so charismatic and so entertaining. Such a good conversation, and I'm excited for you guys to listen in. We talk a little bit about 5 steps to a solid morning routine and building your confidence muscle, some confrontation and bringing light to the area of dark thoughts, and a little bit about Enneagrams too. Janelle Lynnae is the founder of Next Level Confident. She is a corporate workshop facilitator and a one-on-one confidence coach that teaches women how to break through psychological barriers unknowingly placed on self. You can check out her podcast, the Next Level Confident Podcast. Janelle primarily works with women in STEM industries like Cisco, Madwire, ProSci, and nonprofits like STEM Blazers, giving concrete tools to building your confidence muscle in order to become who you're meant to be. Now is the perfect time for you to see yourself as the valuable asset that you are to this world. Janelle lives in San Diego, California, and loves boxing, yoga, hanging out on the beach, reading personal development books, and dancing with her husband, Frankie, in the kitchen. To learn more about her movement, head to www.nextlevelconfident.com. Ladies, I am seriously so excited for this episode. I hope you enjoy it, and let's dive into the show. All right, Janelle, welcome to the Postpartum Performance Podcast. So happy to have you on here and to talk about all things Next Level Confident.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I am pumped to be here.
Woo woo. So first thing, I would love for you to share a little bit with the listeners more about yourself personally, professionally, and kind of where you got to be where you're at now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
So I founded my company, Next Level Confident, 3 years ago. And that company has morphed and changed over those 3 years. What I currently do is I go into corporations in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, and I teach for women in those corporations. So I host workshops, I do speaking engagements, all that good stuff. And I specifically talk to building your confidence muscle in the workplace. So yeah, that is what I do. And if anyone's curious to learn more, you can go to my website. It's nextlevelconfident.com. And I actually have a free resource there for you guys. It's the number one way to build your confidence muscle. Because obviously I'm trying to teach women how to build their confidence muscle, and it's all about mindset work. So it's, it's the stuff that I can tell based on Lindsay, everything that you stand for. And I can only imagine the type of incredible women that you are attracting to this podcast that are listening right now. And they're like, ooh, yeah, like I want to build my confidence. So yeah, you guys can head over there, grab that free resource and grab a candle, some Enya, and do a little bit of journaling. It's one of those journaling resources because I love journaling. And then, yeah, just to dive into how I got to where I am today,
Yeah,
I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I was raised in a strong conservative Christian home, which I'm really grateful for. But I think for a long time, I thought that I just needed to, to say it bluntly, like follow the status quo, right? Like you graduate from high school, then you definitely go immediately to college, you get a degree, and, preferably in 4 years, because you would want to make sure it's as efficient as possible. If you can graduate early, that would be good. And then right after that, you try to, you marry the guy you met in college, because you're kind of trying to get your MRS degree as well. And then, you get married, and then you pop out the kids pretty soon, make sure you have enough money to buy a mortgage, get a white picket fence, get a dog, call it a day. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think like just the Christian culture I was around subconsciously was giving me that message. And, if anyone listening knows about the Enneagram, do you guys talk about the Enneagram on this podcast ever?
I haven't yet. So I'd love
you haven't?
Feel free to jump in on it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm a big Enneagram fan, and I work with my one-on-one coaching clients. We work on studying our Enneagram types so we can understand our ways of being and how we're showing up in the world and all that good stuff. And so I'm an Enneagram 8, which is the challenger. And do you know you're a 2? Okay.
I'm 2. Yeah. I forget what that one actually is.
The helper.
Yep. That's
Yeah. Love that. And actually 2s go to 8 in growth. So when 2s are super healthy, they take on some of the like bolder qualities of an 8. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure of that one.
I'll probably accept that. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I think also what I'm thinking, and so maybe this is the correct one. I think that 8s go to 2 in healthy levels. Like I become more like the 2. So actually maybe that's what it is. Maybe I actually, now that I'm talking out loud, yikes. I think that 2s might actually go to 8s in unhealthiness. Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent.
Well, anyways, we'll look that up later. We can
look that up later.
Make some stuff on with other Enneagram things. But I love it. I love quizzes anyways. And when I started doing the Enneagram stuff and kind of like understanding yourself, it's so good. It's powerful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would link the Truity free Enneagram test in the show notes. So if anyone's like listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to take this test. And then what Truity will do is it gives you like a pie chart that shows you 2, 3, 4 different types that you are most like. Well, you can only be one type actually. So you can't be like, oh, I'm like kind of a 7 and kind of a 2 and kind of a 3. Like you're just one type. So you'll just want to read through the different numbers they give you and then determine which one sounds the most like you. Mm. So the reason why I love Enneagram is it helps you understand kind of nature and nurture, the things that created you to be who you are today and why you do the things you do. So for me, one of my natural, we'll call them lesser strengths is that I'm not vulnerable. But I've really worked on that. And now it is something that I actually do think is a strength of mine is being vulnerable, but it's not natural. But I didn't realize that until I did the Enneagram. So I think it's cool because it shows you both your positive and your areas for growth. Let's call it that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and I think with those two, you can remember times in your life where you were more like one or the other, when you were like thriving, or more when you were like stressed and not really showing up as the best version of yourself, which I think is cool that they give both of those options.
Yes.
And to see like, oh, I feel like this right now, but I have the opportunity and ability to grow into like this better version of myself. And I think that's really cool.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And also, with personality tests, I think sometimes what we can do is we read about a personality test and we think, oh, well, I'm just not naturally good at this. So like, whatever, I just will never be good at that because that's my personality type. And what I think is beautiful is taking your growth mindset and realizing, okay, so my personality type naturally doesn't, do this. Like for me, I'm not naturally patient, but can I grow in my ability to be patient? Of course I can. Every single person can get better at whatever it is they want to get better at. And that's the beauty of it, is it shines light in areas that are like, we might not be self-aware enough to realize that that's not our strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so good. We're going to circle back to that. I know eventually some more of that confidence stuff, but back to, so how did you even start your business? What was that, like that tipping point for you of like, I need to start my own thing?
Yeah, totally. I'm actually trying to remember where I was even going with me bringing up that I'm an 8, but Oh yeah, I'm a challenger. And so I was really starting to challenge the status quo, right? Of like, I don't know if I want to do the whole, like, you've got to do this. And if someone's listening and, you did all the things I just mentioned, like you went to college and you met your person there and then you got married really quickly and had babies really quickly. That's also a beautiful story, and everyone's story is beautiful. So I hope you don't hear me saying that that's not a beautiful story. For me, it just wasn't working out like that because I didn't meet my person right out of college. And so I was single for a long time while all my friends were getting married. So I got married at 28 or maybe 27. Yeah. Which was like later in comparison to where a lot of my friends were. So, needless to say, for me, I was living in Colorado and I had graduated from college in 2014. My degree was in hospitality management and business. I thought I wanted to be a wedding planner. And I did that for a summer at the Hilton as an internship. And I remember just being like, I don't want this lifestyle. Like, this isn't working for me because you have to work so many nights and so many weekends. And to be honest, a lot of the people that I met within hospitality, whether that was hotel, restaurant, or event planning, a lot of them were divorced because I found it can be a challenge. Of course, I'm sure there's great marriages too, but it can be a challenge to be working nights and weekends when you have children. And if the spouse is working a normal job, you just never really spend time together, right? One spouse is 8 to 5, the other spouse is nights and weekends. The children are flip-flopping between the parents. And I think it can be challenging to have a relationship like that. And I knew I wanted to put my marriage, I was really passionate about marriage and I knew I wanted to be best friends with my husband. And so I was like, I don't think that us working opposite schedules will work. So I started to think about different career paths that wouldn't include me working nights and weekends. And I also realized I just love attending events. I don't actually love being the one behind the scenes, like scurrying around. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up moving to San Diego, actually about 2 years after college, and totally changing my career path. I went all by myself. And I guess to bring in the whole husband boyfriend thing, I had a boyfriend break my heart. So I was like, I'm moving, like I'm getting out of Colorado. I'm sick of waiting around on my man. I'm like, I'm moving all by myself. I'm a strong, independent woman. And so I moved to San Diego and I just decided I wanted to get into personal training. So I got my personal training certification and I got a couple different certs with that. I started personal training at a gym. And I loved it. I loved the fitness side of things. I loved helping women build muscle because I think building muscle is just so empowering for a woman to feel strong. But what I found was that it didn't bring me as much joy as I thought it would doing the workouts themselves. What I actually loved was talking to my clients about their dreams and their purpose and what fulfills them. And we all have different things that light us up, no matter where you're at in life, you have different things that light you up and that can change throughout your life too, which is totally fine and totally cool. Your purpose, quote unquote, might shift and morph throughout your life and how God chooses to use your life. But for me, I realized I wanted to talk more about mindset. I wanted to talk more about confidence. I wanted to talk deeper. And my clients at the gym would always be like, you're my therapist / personal trainer. And I was like, okay. And at the same time, I was doing a bunch of personal development. I started listening to podcasts like the Model Health Show with Sean Stevenson.
Sounds great.
Yeah, he's so awesome. I actually met him. I totally nerded out. I was like, sign my book. And I got
I would have done the same.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's so great. So I was listening to his podcast and then I was reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, The Science of Success by Wallace Wattles, like all these different mindset books. And I started like, dang, like I can literally do anything I put my mind to. And, I do want to step back for a moment and just peel back the layers a tiny bit further. Speaking of vulnerability, as to my story. And for me, I struggled for numerous years with thoughts of depression and thoughts of my life not being worthy. And it started around the age of like 13 or 14 when my family moved actually from upstate New York to Colorado, and I didn't want to move with them. And so I think that might have triggered it. And then, hormones and everything happening as a teenager, which, for those who are listening and like just had a baby or whatever, you're like, yeah, I get the hormone thing. It's like kind of crazy, right? Postpartum depression is real. So for me, having these like raging teenage hormones, I just was thinking really dark thoughts. And I started to think about killing myself. And it wasn't something that I thought about all the time. It was kind of just like floating around in my mind. And every so often when I'd be like laying in bed at night crying, I'd be like, how would I do it? Would I do pills? Would I do a gun? Like, I don't even know. Like, I guess my dad probably has a gun in the basement somewhere. I could go find that. And I would picture myself trying to go through with it. And I was like, yeah, that's really bad. Like, that's really bad. You're not supposed to kill yourself. And especially, from a faith perspective, I was like, does that mean I'd go to hell? Like, I don't think I can kill myself and go to heaven, right? Because that's like a sin to kill yourself. So I was like wrestling with all these different dark thoughts. And in the midst of all those dark thoughts, I started to create this story that I could die of a natural cause and that would be better. And the natural cause that my mind attached to was dying in a car accident. So I started to picture myself on a regular basis dying in a car accident. And for whatever reason, I pictured it happening like in my early 20s. And I was like, this was when I was, 13, 14, 15. I don't even know exactly like when it all began. I remember when the dark thoughts began, but I don't know exactly when the lies really started to seep in as my truth. But it was somewhere in those teenage years where I started to think, okay, I'm going to die in a car accident and it'll be in my mid 20s. And what was very interesting about it is I would actually get some sort of weird high and self-gratification from picturing everyone missing me. And that's how I know it was a self-worth issue deep to its core, because I wanted to be gratified by knowing that everyone missed me. I wanted to be gratified by knowing that I was loved. And so when I disappeared, I thought about there's like, this is so random. Mark Twain, I think, doesn't he do something where he like has a pretend funeral or something for himself? And then like he goes and watches his own funeral.
It might have been him. I'm not sure. I've heard of that, but I'm not sure on the specific
Mark Twain
person.
Is such a random reference from me right now. Like I don't think I've ever read Mark Twain, but I'm pretty sure I got that from like, I was like, oh, he faked his own funeral so he could go run off and do something else. But I always remember thinking, oh, it must have been cool for him to watch all the people who came and cried at his funeral. So I remember picturing people coming to my funeral and people crying and being like, oh man, like Janelle was just so awesome. And, my parents, for some of the strictness that I was really frustrated about, like they were super strict with me growing up about, Christian things that really frustrated me. Like, couldn't wear bikinis for a long time and had to wear shorts that were like one credit card above my kneecaps. And like your straps need to be 3 fingers, thick, things like that. It was just so stifling, especially, I think for any personality type, but certain personality types, going back to the Enneagram, when your parents are like that, you just say like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. I'll do what you say. And you just follow it to a T and you become this like type A personality. Or you have personalities like mine, like the challenger, that's like, yeah, F you, actually, I'm gonna make my own rules and start sneaking out and like making out with random boys, like just going totally against the Christian thing. And so that's what I did for a long time. And along with that was my dark thoughts of like disappearing, making my parents feel bad, making the kids at school feel bad. Like I just wanted people to like feel bad for how they treated me. I wanted people to miss me. Like I would picture the popular girls being like, Janelle and I were such close friends. We really loved each other. And I'm like, but we weren't, in real life. But in this dream of mine that I was like getting off on, basically, I was like, yeah, like everyone loves me. So, that's definitely a pretty dramatic, I guess. I don't like to use the word dramatic because I feel like there's like shame in that, but it's definitely a bigger lie than what everyone faces. Although, a lot of my young mom friends, to be honest, I've heard a lot of them talking about how they lay in bed at night and picture disappearing because it's just such a burden to have a new child and how much work it is. And it's just so exhausting. Like So I don't know, maybe someone listening is like, oh my gosh, I've had that thought. And I just want you to know you're not alone in your dark thoughts, and you're not alone in like in the fear and in the self-worth struggle and like the, does my life even matter struggle. You're not alone. And the truth of it is that your life does matter. And the truth of it is that you do have self-worth, and it is really hard right now. And it is really freaking crappy right now, everything you're going through. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, and God wouldn't put you through this if he didn't think you could come out on the other side stronger. Yes. And so I know for me, like just taking my story, I ended up telling my mentors who were my Bible study leaders at church, and I had told a few people along the way. And every time I told people reacted really negatively. Like they would be like, oh my gosh, Janelle, don't think that. That is bad, you know? And I was like, oh gosh, okay. This is something I should really keep a secret. And that is where, once again, from a faith perspective, whether you believe in any faith stuff or not, but in my belief, there is light and there is dark, and that darkness is Satan. And he would want nothing more than for us to attach these lies and just believe it with full truth. So when you share something scary or vulnerable with someone, and then they like shut you down and make you feel stupid or like, don't think that, and then you think, oh, I'll keep it a secret. That is not good, because the secrets are going to be what ruin you. So bring those secrets out to the light, bring light to them. And tell the right people that are trusted. Right. So I finally told these mentors who are the right people to tell, and they were the people who spoke life over me. And they're like, Janelle, that is a straight lie from hell, from Satan. That's not true. The truth is that God doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't make accidents. God doesn't create you for death. And there's no reason for you to plan for death. And what was happening was, because I was constantly thinking, oh, well, I'm going to die in my mid-20s, it paralyzed me from taking action on so many levels of my life. I was in an unhealthy dating relationship. I didn't even care about my career path. I didn't think about anything. Like all I thought about was, and a lot of it was subconscious. Once again, all I thought about was, well, I'm going to die. So why does it even matter? Why does it even matter? And so whether you thought the darkest thoughts like me, or whether you have like, you know, maybe like lighter dark thoughts, I'll say it like that. I don't know. But like, oh, I lost my train of thought. If you have really dark thoughts like mine, or maybe they're lighter dark thoughts, either way, you want to bring them into the light so that they lose their hold on you. Yeah. So yeah, I told the mentors, they prayed over me, they spoke truth in my life. And it was the first time that I'd ever heard well, I guess one more thing I'll say is actually the husband of this couple, he actually used to believe the same thing as me, that he was supposed to die. And it's actually crazy, because I've shared this on numerous podcasts and speaking engagements. Like I just always get this out there because I want people to know they're not alone in their darkness, and that we all have dark, crazy thoughts, quote unquote crazy, right? We're not crazy. We all have these thoughts. And I've had so many people reach out to me saying that they always believe that they're going to die of cancer at a certain age, or, you know, oh, I saw in a dream a tombstone that had 2022 written on it, so I thought I was supposed to die in 2022, like all these crazy things. And so we're not crazy, you know, we're not alone for having these dark thoughts. Oh, and this is what I was going to say. I'm back. I'm on a ramble right now, or like a rant of some kind, but keep it going. Even if you've never had the darkest, dark thoughts, sometimes you still live your life in a way that is like a hamster on a wheel, right? Just, well, whatever, like mediocre. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. Like blah, 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 blah. Woe is me. Right. And so I'm actually really grateful that I had this huge wake up call where I all of a sudden realized, holy crap, I get to live my entire life. God created me for something big, and I'm going to go pursue it. And so it was after that night with my mentors that I broke free from that. And it's not to say I never struggle with the thought again. I will say that I still sometimes struggle with that thought when I'm having a low self-worth day, but I have tools now to help me get from point A to point B to be like, okay, Janelle, that's a lie. And the truth is this. So,
that's fantastic. I was like, just so much. I was like, wow, so much. I appreciate you sharing all of that, because I know that's stuff that has been a process for you to get to this point that you're sharing about it more and feeling more comfortable and confident with that. I want you to know, Janelle, that you are seen, you are worthy, and you are loved.
Thank you, Lindsay. I received that.
Good. You were talking about tools, though, that you now have ways to implement for those days where you feel like your self-worth is not maybe as high as it could be on some days, which I feel like, are there similar things that you would use for women that you now work with on their confidence, flexing that confidence muscle, building that confidence muscle, and just kind of working through those things? What strategies would you have for someone that's, having some of those dark thoughts or just having that lack of self-worth or confidence, just not where they want to be, and knowing that they're made for more and they can do more in who they've been made to be?
Yeah. So like I was saying at the beginning, that free resource, the number one way to build your confidence muscle on my website, that is an exercise that will walk you through your limiting beliefs and then stating your truth. So your truth is generally the opposite of the limiting belief. Another limiting belief I've struggled with, but I'm not smart enough, right? I never thought that I was the smart one. I thought my brother was the smart one and that I was the one with the looks. And I was like, I just wish I could be smart. And so for me, the truth is I'm smart, right? That's so simple. And yet it's the truth. And yet it doesn't always feel like truth, right? A lot of times my clients do the exercise and then they're like, okay, Janelle, so I wrote out my limiting beliefs and then I wrote out the truth, but like the truth doesn't really feel like truth. So I'm kind of confused because really just the limiting belief feels true. I'm like, yes, welcome to humanity. There it is. And so really and truly what it is for this first tool is repetition of the truth over and over and over. And doing it out loud is really important. Another way it's said is affirmations. I don't know if I really use that verbiage, but it's writing it in your journal and speaking life over yourself of who you are. If you are a Christian, and some of my clients are and some of them aren't, but for my Christian clients, I'll be like, go to the Bible and find Bible verses that support the things that you're trying to speak over yourself, right? The truth. And then if you're not, even if you're not a Christian, go find some quotes, go find some inspiring quotes that affirm who you are, and put those all around your house and start to repeat it over and over again. It's kind of like the placebo effect. So just like in placebo, when you take a pill that's a sugar pill and your brain is so powerful that it actually heals itself based on just believing that it's possible. If you start to over and over and over again, day in and day out, start to tell yourself the truth. I am smart. I am smart. I am smart. And look for ways to confirm that you are smart. That's how you're going to begin to believe it. So often we look for ways to confirm the opposite. So back when I used to believe that I was stupid, I would look for ways to confirm it. If a teacher was like, Janelle, like, you don't know the answer to that question, immediately in my brain, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she totally knows I'm stupid. She figured me out. Like, she knows I'm stupid. And that was just me looking to confirm that. It's called confirmation bias. If you are thinking about buying a certain car and you've gone and test drove that car a few different times, like I'm looking at Teslas. I've been looking at Teslas for like a year because I really want a Tesla. It's on the vision board. And I'm like, I keep seeing Teslas everywhere, right? Every day I see more and more and more and more Teslas. Well, are there actually more Teslas today as there were yesterday? Probably not. But I'm looking for them. Confirmation bias. So if you start to say, I am smart, I am smart, I am smart, you'll start to look for ways to confirm that you are smart. So that is one tool.
So good. So good. Love that one.
Yeah. And then another tool is gratitude box. So this is something that my client and I created together. And I think it's actually really cool. It's actually mostly her idea. What we were doing before is we were having her think when she was starting to go to dark places in her thoughts, like sometimes we go to really crazy thoughts, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like the craziest one that even be like socially acceptable to say out loud. But like one of my friends, she was like, sometimes I have like weird fears that like my husband's just going to like turn into a psychopath and like murder me. I mean, come on, we've all had weird thoughts like that, right? We have these like and like sometimes we go down the path or like, oh, my husband just like randomly, I'm like, he's cheating on me. Like, I'm positive he's cheating on me, even though there's no way to know, like there's no evidence for that. It's just all in our mind, just crazy thoughts. A lot of it is around death or like the things we're the most afraid of. Like another one of my clients was like, I always would have feared that my husband would die when he would drive home from work. I would think he'd get in a car accident. So we just like have these big fears. So when you're starting to go down these crazy little rabbit holes in your brain where you're thinking the worst possible outcomes and you're like creating this story that's not even true, and you're putting your body in a fight or flight position where you're starting to have like your heart rate go up and you're like, and you're breathing in shallow because you're creating a story that's not true. First of all, stop. You're not alone. Have grace for yourself. Don't beat yourself up for doing it. And let's move forward with the grateful box. So grateful box is you find something you're grateful for. Think of what you're grateful for, right? Or you can write it down. I'm very visual, so I write it down. And then you do square breathing. So square breathing is an inhale for 4 counts. You hold your breath for 4 counts. You exhale for 4 counts. And then you hold for 4 counts. So it's a box. And if you Google square breathing, if you need a visual, you'll see like 1,000 little pictures that show you how it's done. Yeah. And so you do like the breathing and then the gratitude and then the breathing and the gratitude. So it's called the grateful box, which is a really fun one.
I like that one. I haven't heard that type of one before. I've heard things separately, but combining that is fantastic.
I know. Like I said, my client came up with it because I was having her do the gratitude and I was having her do the breathing. She's like, yeah, I combined them and I'm calling it the grateful box. I was like, you are a genius. I love it. I have awesome clients. And let's see, what is another one? I mean, I think morning routine is huge. And I know when you have children, like you guys, I don't have children. I'm married, but I don't have children. And so maybe there's a part of you that's like, honestly, Janelle, you don't even know my life. Like you don't get it because you don't have a child. And you know what? You're right. Because I recently got a dog and that almost killed me.
We were talking about this the other day. You're like, no.
I was like, if this is a dog, I don't even want to know what a child out. It's like going to be so much work. So yeah, you're right. I don't totally get it. I really don't. I really, really, really don't. And so I feel for you and I understand that it's so difficult. But the morning routine for me has been a lifesaver. And so I do 5 things for my morning routine. 1, don't snooze the alarm button more than once. Okay. On the iPhone, it's a 9-minute snooze, which I actually find to be really annoying. I want it to be a 5-minute snooze, but anyway.
It is really long.
I know. There's some sort of science behind it. I Googled it because I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to us, iPhone? But anyway, 1 snooze only, which I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I do the 2 snoozes because waking up for me can sometimes be one of the hardest things to do. And if you have a child, you probably feel me, but times a billion. But do your best to only hit the snooze button once, because it's like, if you just keep snoozing, then you might as well have just set a later alarm. Right. Yeah. And then maybe also you just need to wake up a little bit later. That was the thing for me. I thought, I'm a go-getter. I should wake up at 5:30 or 6. And to be honest, I just don't do well at that time. And maybe one of these days I will. And I know I can grow in that, but to be honest, I don't know if I want to put my time and energy in growing in that. So I just wake up, I do my first alarm at 6:30 and then at like 6:38 is when I get out. And that's what works for my schedule. And it's earlier than it used to be, which was like 7:30. So yeah. Number 2, I don't check my phone for the first hour of every day. This is a non-negotiable for stress. I'm huge on phone boundaries, like huge, huge, huge. If you follow me on Instagram, you have no idea how often I will tell you that I just took a 24-hour fast from Instagram or a 48-hour fast from Instagram. You've got to take social media breaks. And you cannot be checking your social media or emails or texts first thing in the morning. So I would just put my phone on airplane mode. And then if you or you can do like night mode or sleep mode or something, and you can put emergency contacts in that their phone numbers can come through if you are worried about like the phone call aspect of it. Or you could turn off all notifications. That's what I've done. I have no notifications.
That's fantastic. I love.
Girl, Lindsay,
game changer.
Try this. It's a game changer because my phone is sitting right next to me and it does not light up unless a phone call comes in, and people don't really call me unless like we scheduled a phone call. And sometimes my mom, who I'm like, Mom, like, can I go after work? Yeah. So then don't look at your phone for the first hour of the day because you are going to be in reactive mode and you immediately give your emotions over to someone else and let them dictate how you're going to start your day, right? You might see good news. You might see bad news. You might be motivated. You may be like, oh my gosh, how did that woman lose her baby weight so quickly? Like, what the heck? That's incredible. Or maybe you saw someone who posted like, their family looking so beautiful in their family pictures. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, we need to get those family photos scheduled, and it's like, you're just waking up with stress and anxiety and comparison, and you put yourself into these states of mind that are not healthy. So just don't look at your phone. Just don't look at it. It's not worth it. If you need to get a like old fashioned alarm and use that and put your phone in a different room, you can do that. Number 3, I chug 17 ounces of water before I let myself have coffee. I love my coffee. So it's a really good motivator of like, drink your water. And I drink a gallon of water a day. And I'm also extremely bougie with my water. I have a Magic water machine. So it turns my tap water into alkaline water. So 9.5 pH water. If you guys want to learn more about that, you can feel free to hit me up on that on social. So I chug that water before I have my coffee because we're dehydrated. We got to hydrate. And let's see, I got 3 there. I know I'm missing. Oh yeah. Make the bed. There you go. That's what actually happens before the water.
Get that win.
Make your bed. Yeah. It's a quick win for the day. There's a lot of psychology that shows how important making the bed is. I used to never make my bed. My parents made me do it all growing up. And, yeah, basically like I went to college and I was like, never making my bed again. See you later. Rules, mom and dad, and then I started my personal development journey and I was like, all right, I guess this is what kind of like everyone who's successful does this. So I guess I can do it too. And then the last one is writing out. I do a journaling sequence. So for me, I read the Bible. I write out like my favorite, Bible verse that I read and what it means to me. I write out 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I write out 3 things that I'm happy and blessed for. So the happy and blessed are things that are not yet true, but I'm speaking them into existence. So I say, I'm happy and blessed. This was one for me for a lot of years. I'm happy and blessed that I'm married to the man of my dreams. He loves Jesus and we run a multi-million-dollar business together. And I would write that every morning. And then I would start dating some loser, but I wake up and I'd write it down. I'd be like, I'm happy and blessed that I'm married to the man of my dreams. And then I'd go hang out with my loser boyfriend and I'd be like, what am I doing with my life? And so it would hold me accountable. So whatever it is that you want right now, write it out as if it's already happened. Speak it into existence. So that is the 5th part to the morning routine that I highly suggest.
Oh, that is money. For all of you guys listening, go ahead, rewind that a little bit when you're listening now on whatever you're listening on and listen to that again. Take those notes because that is like a powerhouse morning routine. And how long does that take you? Give or take.
Give or take. Well, I actually started adding morning workouts in, which for the longest time I did not do. But since COVID started, it's a lot. I've been rambling a lot, so I'm just going to save you guys. But basically, I haven't been doing workouts, or if I do, it's like a midday workout where I go boxing, but then I don't shower like all day leading up to my boxing class. So then I feel homeless. Then I get to the boxing class, I work out, and then I get home and it's like 2:30 p.m. and I'm like frantically trying to get back to work. And so I take a really fast shower, but I don't put on makeup. And then I feel homeless again because I'm all greasy and sweaty. And so I just feel homeless all day long. Like I look like a really homeless person. So anyway, I started doing morning workouts as well. And so that has been adding another like 30 minutes to my routine. I'm doing EMOMs.
Oh yeah.
And those are so good. Right. They're quick, efficient. And then I'm showering and I'm putting on makeup, which is huge for me. I'm like, whoa,
like
you look
together,
makeup girl. Like, who are you? So yeah. And I walk my dog too on the ocean for 30 minutes. So I'm going to be honest with you, it's a 2.5 hour routine because I do all those things.
Yeah.
And then I start work at 9 a.m. So I wake up around 6:30, start work around 9.
And that's like, I'm sure listeners, if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, that seems like a lot or little, like how would I fit that in? But just starting with like some of those beginning things of just drinking water, making your bed and like not snoozing the alarm, that already is going to set up for doing those things. And then starting with the journaling and that type of stuff already, then depending on how your day is shaking out that you can, fit in the other things or add on, but just start with the small stuff. That's
right. Exactly. Like those 5 little things. I mean, if you're just going to implement the 5, those should take you no more than 20 minutes, to make your bed, to do, the journaling takes you 5 minutes at most if you're going to do that. So yeah, if you just do the bare minimum, 20 minutes, but if you want to add in a workout and a shower, it's going to take a little more time, but
that's all self-care though. You got to show up for yourself to feel confident also in like who you are and put in the time because otherwise, if you don't, like when is the change going to happen? When is that confidence going to kind of emerge? So I feel like you have to put in some of that time and some of that effort to reap the benefits with that. And
totally. Yeah. And Rachel Hollis talked about that. Like she had, I can't remember if it was a podcast or her book. She was saying something about how, something about getting ready and like, if not now, when, and I feel like I, especially with COVID, got like so lazy with everything with self-care.
I'm right there.
Yeah. I think, and honestly,
it's been a good reminder to get back into it.
Yeah. And I think we're all, once again, there's grace because it's like, been a really hard season for everyone. And so I'm not trying to come from a place of like judgment or condemnation towards myself or towards anyone else. It's just that I started to realize like, at the very bare minimum, like I think my makeup routine only takes actually 10 minutes. So it's like, Janelle, you can shower and do them. Like it's not that much work and you'll feel so much more beautiful the rest of your day if you just take a little bit of time at the beginning of the day to spruce up a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. One question I love to ask our guests for the listeners is what's I wish I would have known sooner topic that you see with a lot of women that you work with, whether that's something related to confidence or other things. What would that be for you and the women that you're working with?
That's a great question, Lindsay. And I have so many different answers popping into my head already. I think, one of them is truly, I wish I knew sooner how important self-care is and taking time for myself. One of my clients recently shared how she had a really stressful like 3 work weeks in a row that were really insane. And she still had more work to do, but she was really proud of herself because she took one day off and it was near Christmas time. So she watched Hallmark videos and like, I think she said she went to Hobby Lobby and like perused the, Hobby Lobby just to like get some time by herself. And she was really proud of herself for taking a day off of work, even though there was more work to be done. And that was a version of self-care for her. So I think often my clients tell me that they didn't realize how important it was for them to fill up their own cup before they could fill up everyone else's cup. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that comes to mind is confrontation. Something I work on with all of my clients is confrontation, whether that be with your husband, your boyfriend. Most of my clients are female, so that's why I'm saying that. But for any men listening, whoever your significant other is, your boss, your friends, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most. So you want to be choosy with your friends. So I've helped some of my friends with confrontation with their friendships that aren't going well. But I think my clients have often been like, I didn't realize how being able to do confrontation in a healthy and kind and loving way would actually change my relationships for the better. I think they have a limiting belief that if they bring something up, that it's going to actually ruin the relationship or that it's going to, frustrate their husband and make him want to like leave her or, frustrate the boyfriend. But in reality, people really appreciate it. Brene Brown says, clear is kind and unclear is unkind. So being clear with people about your expectations and what you need and what you don't need, and just speaking your mind boldly and kindly, it really is a game changer. A quick story that happened with one of my clients is that her boyfriend was helping her look for an apartment, and he picked an area of town that she wasn't even interested in living in. But he went to all the work of finding it. And then he scheduled an appointment for her. And then he told her, and he thought it was like so kind of him. Well, she was kind of frustrated because she's like, I don't even want to live over there. But because she was trying to be nice, quote unquote, she went through the whole process. She went and saw the house and she went, and they did it together. And she just like, they got in a big fight afterwards because it took up a lot of her Saturday and she wanted to do other things on her Saturday. And like all this blew up from like the fact that at the beginning, she wasn't willing to say, hey, hun, thank you so much for scheduling that. That was so sweet of you. I see you. I appreciate you. And to be honest, I would never in a million years live in that area of town. So it's really not worth our time to even use our Saturday to go look at it. So why don't we cancel that and try to find a different place in the area of town that I do like? So anyway, after her and I worked together, she got to this place where she was like, oh my gosh, Ryan and I can actually communicate about things now. Like I can tell him what I need and what I don't need. And it's not like we don't get into all these fights. So I think people don't realize that you actually save yourself from fights and you save yourself from hardship if you do communicate clearly what you need.
100%. I think that's so important to work on that skill set too, that if that's something that you are not comfortable doing or just don't have the reps in, find a coach, someone like Janelle, like learn how to do those things, because you'll find that there's so much stuff that you might be kind of like bobbing and weaving and dodging those conversations. Yes. And then it becomes so much more stressful and so much more of a thing for you and not even the other person. But all you had to say was something like that of like, I really don't actually want to live in that area. Let's look somewhere else, and just being honest. That's so good.
Yeah. And I think the root of it is realizing that you are lovable, right? Because it does come back to that. The deepest root about why she didn't want to bring that up was like, oh, I don't want him to be angry and not love me. Right. Mm-hmm. And so she was avoiding hard conversations. But if you come into it being like, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I'm worth this conversation, you can go into it without worrying about them, breaking up with you or leaving you or like something dramatic, because they're lucky to be in a relationship with you too. And your needs matter too. So I think confrontation is amazing. And that client specifically started to keep something we called a confrontation conversation journal. And so every time she would have an uncomfortable conversation that she was afraid to have, but she knew she needed to have, she would write it in the journal and we would celebrate it together. Like, good job, you did it, and it's a big deal when you're willing to press into those conversations again, with respect and love, not from a place of, being mean or rude or, abusive, but just being loving. You can still say what you need. You can be both.
Oh, awesome. So good, Janelle. Oh my gosh. We literally are like jam packing so much stuff into this fantastic episode. I'm so excited for listeners to get their hands on this one. Final closing question. So you are at a coffee shop down in San Diego somewhere. Do you have a favorite coffee shop?
Ooh, I have a few, although I don't know what's open now after, okay, we'll just say Better Buzz. Mm-hmm.
I like Better Buzz. Yeah. So you're in line at Better Buzz and there's a new mom that comes up to you and she's like, hey, Janelle, here's my little kid. I just had a kid and you know what? I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed, but how would you say, how could I live my life with more strength and confidence? And like, what does that mean to you? And how can I do that in my life? You only have a minute because you have a coaching call to do. So what would you say to this new mom about what does living life with strength and confidence mean to you, and what that she could then kind of take that advice and run with it?
Yeah. Okay. So we're in line together and she just ends up telling me, I'm like, how can I grow my confidence, or how can I say the question she's asking me one more time?
What does living life with strength and confidence mean to you?
It's a really very good question. I like how you worded that. What does living life with strength and confidence mean to you? I think that it means believing fully that your life matters, whatever that looks like, and stepping into your purpose within that. And for some of you listening, it's going to be, maybe it's a stay-at-home mom full-time, and that is the biggest dream of your life that is coming true because you just had a baby. And even though it's hard, you're loving it and all that. Or maybe you want to have a career still and you are allowed, I give you a permission slip to still also have a career. And for both women, the stay-at-home mom or the career woman or someone who wants to work part-time at a Starbucks, whatever the heck you want to do, that means finding your dream and finding happiness, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. And you have the ability to do that. And there shouldn't be any apologies. There shouldn't be any shame in what you want. Just follow that. And your child is going to look at you and they're going to see if you're happy or not. They watch you, and kids know from such a young age. And I know because my mom struggled a lot with depression when I was a girl, And I watched her not happy and not confident for so many years. And I think that's part of why I do what I do, because your kids notice. And so, yeah, I would just say like live your life full out and do the things that bring you fulfillment. Because if you are fulfilled, you might feel a little selfish or a little bit of mommy guilt while you go do those things for yourself, whether that's, working out or having a job or whatever it is. You might feel selfish in the moment, but truly your children are watching you and they're inspired and they will copy you. Monkey see, monkey do. So do the thing that brings you alive, and then your child will be more likely to do the things that bring them alive. You can't tell your child, believe in yourself, you can do whatever you want, but then you're holding yourself back from certain areas of your life. So yeah, I would just say, it's kind of like be the change you want to see in the world, like be the human you want your child to grow up to be. And your life matters. Your life matters. Your dark thoughts you can set them free. There's truth. And there's a ripple effect that comes from your life,
That is so good, Janelle. I got goosebumps. Like literally, I'm like, oh, so incredible. So incredible. That was so impactful. Those girls at Better Buzz that meet you and hear that, my gosh, their lives have been changed. Their lives have been changed.
I'll see you guys at Better Buzz. When are we meeting there? Let's all go to Better Buzz and have a party.
I love it. I love it. So before we head out, I would love for you to share where people can find you, because I know you are very active on Instagram with all of your coaching things, and you're just so fun. You have some great content out there. And so I would love for people to find ways to get connected to you. So where could they go?
Yeah. So, by very active, she means like medium active, because I have a lot of social media boundaries now. I'm just joking. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Janelle_Lynnae. And I'm sure that'll be linked below since you don't know how to spell Lynnae. And then, I'm also on LinkedIn because I do speak for women in STEM and in tech. So if you know of any workshops or companies looking for speakers, please connect me. I'm open to all connections. And then, so we got LinkedIn, we got Instagram. I mean, obviously you could add me on Facebook if you want. I have a podcast. It's called the Next Level Confident Podcast. So you can certainly check that out. And you can head to my website, nextlevelconfident.com. And if you want that free resource, that is /confidence muscle and free download for your journaling sesh, girlfriend.
Perfect. Those will all be in the show notes. Oh, Janelle, thank you so much for your time and for sharing so much about your story and also your skills and passions, because that is so powerful. I can see just with the way that you're talking about building people's confidence muscles and helping train people and coach them through that is so powerful and important to you. And I can really tell that's something that you've been gifted with. So
thank you, Lindsay. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for asking incredible questions, for holding the space for this conversation. And for those of you who are still listening after like a bunch of rants from Janelle today, like, thank you for giving up an hour of your time to be here. We really, really appreciate your time. We don't take that lightly. There's so many podcasts you can listen to. So if you are listening right now, we are so happy that you chose to use your time like this. That means a lot to us.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Postpartum Performance Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, learn, and grow. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for being here. The aim of this podcast is to provide oodles of the best possible content to help empower women, eliminate the phrase, "I wish I would have known sooner" around pelvic health, and to encourage personal growth through the postpartum journey to becoming the best version of yourself. If you enjoyed the show and found the content helpful, please remember to subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review. These subscriptions and reviews help other mothers discover the podcast. If you're a regular listener, thank you. I encourage you to tell a friend about us or post on social media sharing your favorite part for today's show. If you're looking for more content like this, please follow me on Instagram at Postpartum Performance. Remember, mothers, if you're seeking to live life strong, I'm here with you in your corner. Continue to be brave, stay strong, and live confidently.